Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Perception Paradox. My name is Zivile, and I'm your host. And today's guest is Andy Bruckschlöegl, who is a co-founder of Ryte and Bits Pretzels Conference. Bits Pretzels Conference is pretty known in Europe and outside Europe for its unique style. It's aligned with a timeline of Oktoberfest happening in Munich. And the interesting fact that it all has started back in 2014 September as a founders gathering in Munich, because Berlin had already quite some founders gathering. Munich did not have, and then his co-founders thought we need to do something here as well. And they did. They managed to gather some 80 people, and since that moment, they've got a momentum and they just kept growing. And right now, what we know, Bits Pretzels, is a 7,500 people gathering around the Oktoberfest time where, entrepreneurship is explored. So if you haven't visited yet, I guess it's time if you're hearing this message. And no, it's not an ad. I just generally heard legends about this event. And so it was pretty cool to sit down, to jump on a call with Andy and talk more about his philosophy behind the events and how did it all start, how did they stay competitive. They do attract some big names like Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Richard Branson in the ecosystem. And at the same time, what's unique about Andy that he's also a founder himself. Last year, his company, Ryte, was acquired by Semrush. So he knows the pain. And an interesting fact that he was building Ryte along with the Bits Pretzels. So we kind of dive into both tech events, the value for founders, entrepreneurial journey, and how did he start his journey while being 12 years old. But about more of this in the episode, so let's dive in and enjoy. Real people, real stories, and real challenges that break the status quo. I'm your host, Zivile, and welcome to Perception Paradox. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Perception Paradox. And today I do have Andy with me from Bits Pretzels, entrepreneur, and someone who really likes hot chocolate instead of coffee. I think we will get into that later on, but Andy, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So where is that hot chocolate passion coming from?
So so usually a lot of people love coffee, but I never ever had some love for coffee. I don't like the taste, but I really like taste of hot chocolate. And so we had some situations where we were sitting at a dinner or lunch or whatsoever. So also a dinner with a minister. And at the end, everyone was asked for, would you like to have some coffee? And I said, no coffee for me, but a hot chocolate. And it's fun because everyone is very irritated. It's okay, Andy, hot chocolate. But yeah, I really love the taste of hot chocolate.
That's
and,
good.
And sugar at all, which is not healthy. So I try to get a bit down from this addiction, but in general, I really love it.
I mean, that's not the worst one, as long as it makes you happy. I think it's not too good. Okay, so Andy, when I started looking a bit in your profile, I heard about Bits Pretzels for a few years in a row, and for me,
Awesome.
It always sounded like this. That's an event you want to go, but it's kind of very exclusive because you also have attendees cap, right? So not more than 1,500 people every year. When it's also aligned with the Oktoberfest, and everything is just sounded very magical about that. So perhaps we can start from here. How did Bits Pretzels were born and gain such a fast pace? Because to my knowledge, it started as a just breakfast event for some ecosystem players in Munich like 11 years ago.
Yeah, you're totally right and well informed. So exactly. So we started 11 years ago. And 11 years ago, within Germany, we had a kind of a different situation. We had the situation where in Munich, the corporates, everyone knows, BMW and so on, were extremely successful. And in Berlin, you had some new development of, it was called Rocket Internet. Rocket Internet was more or less some kind of a very, very high-end boot camp for startup founders, driven by the Semrush brothers. And yeah, so at this time, the whole Rocket Internet story got a lot of traction in Germany. And this were the situation where a lot of friends of mine and also employees and so on said, hey, have you heard about Rocket Internet in Berlin and so on? And I was asking more and more by myself, hey, everyone is talking about Berlin, but we also have some great founders in Munich and maybe a good founder scene, but no one knows. And then I said, okay, let's change it. And at this time, also the Deutsche Bundesverband, I don't know what it's called in English, the German Federation for Startup, was born. And I said, hey, I would like to run here for a spokesperson. And asked if I can do that. And I said, hey, happy to do that. And then I knew I meet Bernd, my now colleague, but at this time I have never heard about Bernd. Bernd was the founder of Abo Alarm and experienced a bit of the same what I experienced with Rocket Internet. Everyone was talking about Berlin. And then we both said, okay, come on, let's change it. And then we directly came to the question, but how? And then we said, okay, let's do something which is very, very easy to quote. And we said, let's put together everything what Munich has. So let's do some founders sausage breakfast. Munich is known for, right? For this white sausage. Maybe you have already tried. So this first. Second, let's put a location everyone knows, and it's also very easy to quote. So let's do it in the Hofbräuhaus. And then let's make it as a breakfast and very traditional. And we started with this idea and thought about, okay, if we share this in our network, at this time Facebook was mainstream. So we shared it on Facebook, and there you had the Facebook events and so on. And we got a lot of interaction, but not that much signups. And this was the first time where we had a moment where we thought, okay, that's strange, right? And we had only 10 or 15 signups. And then Bernd and I asked ourselves and said, okay, we expected around 50-ish. So let's call our friends, and we call them, and hey, you have seen it because you clicked on the like button, but you haven't signed up. Why? And all our friends said, hey, it's a cool thing, Andy, but to be honest, I have to work. And just to have here a bit of the comparison, for example, to Berlin, because in Berlin at this time it was not only Rocket Internet, there were really daily events for the startup scenes, and not only one, you had 3 at least every day where you can go to. And we said, hey, in Berlin you have so many, but in Munich you have not only one, and the one we now would like to organize have no attendees. What's the reason? And people told us, hey, I really have to work because the rents in Munich are so high. I have to earn money, right? So it's a bit different. And this time, really, rents in Berlin were low and so on. Everything changed in the last 11 years. So I would say these days it's the same, but past days it was different. And then we really tried to convince them. So we said, hey, please make it happen only for the one time that we have this first important size of around 50-ish, that it's not boring for people who are coming, because if you have only 5 or 10 other attendees, right, it's not so cool to have a networking and so on. So and we really asked them for a favor, and they said, okay, let's do that. And then after calling 100 and having 70 attendees, we did the first one. And this was a huge success. Everyone who attended said, okay, Andy and Bernd, but Andy to my network said it to me. That's something which was really, really missing, and we are looking forward to the next event. And after Bernd and we heard this from the attendees, we knew, okay, we have to continue. So we made it at the beginning as a bi-monthly meeting, because we thought monthly is too crazy regarding all the organizational stuff, but quarterly is then hard on getting some momentum, so we do it bi-monthly, and we did it. And the first were 70 attendees, the next one were already 120, then 180, and then at the fourth one we got a very, very cool speaker. At this time it was the Ministry of Bavarian Economics, Ilse Aigner, at this time. And she said, or the office of her called us and said, hey, she would like to speak. And this was then a big jump for us. So from 180 to 400 because of her, because people wanted to see her. And this was very cool because it lifted us, but it also showed us how important it is to have well-known speakers. So for sure, she was not a founder, but she was very well known in the Bavarian ecosystem, and she was so far not speaking at any startup event. There were not so many, and she was not involved in any. So and this was the first time, and people really would like to see her live. And then we said after this event, okay, how can we continue? And he said we have to now look for a bigger location because Hofbrauhaus only had the space, or this time it was the next step from Hofbrauhaus at the beginning to Augustina, Hofbrauhaus 200, Augustina 400. So we said, okay, what's the next size? And the next size was Löwenbräu-Keller. Sorry for that. It's German breweries, but this was then a location for 1,500 people. And I know it as it was yesterday, to be honest, where Bern and I stepped into it. So looked at the empty location, and we thought, wow, okay, that's big. Oh my gosh. And we said, okay, how can we fill it? And we looked to each other and said, come on, let's try it. Let's just try it. And also, let's think about the date. So because I think the last Founders Breakfast was in May or something like this. And we said, okay, now doing it in July is not good because only 2 months and so on. So we said, let's do it parallel to the Oktoberfest, that some people has the chance to then, before or afterwards, visit the Oktoberfest. And we thought about people from Berlin, from Cologne, and so from Germany, because at the beginning we were then very much for sure German driven and oriented. So we did it, and yeah, it was a huge success. So we from 400 we grew to 1,200, and also recognized, okay, there is a momentum, there is something people love, and so on. But so on the side before the event, but the event itself was horror. It was horror. It was crazy. Oh my gosh. Because it was the following. Do you know the Oktoberfest?
Yeah, I do. It's like
So-
your beer festival, right? The huge beer festival.
Do you know also the how people sit to each other?
The long tables and the traditional dresses, pints of beer, and a lot of pretzels, no?
Exactly. And they sit
In front of each other, facing
in
each
front
other.
of each other.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is great. It's great for networking. But, and we didn't know, if you have a speaker in front and people sit in front of each other, they tend to speak to each other, turning out, no one listening, and you have a very, very loud noise.
Mm-hmm.
And this was crazy because we really convinced people from US coming and so on. So the founders of Shazam, the founder of Tune and so on. So big names for us at this time, and literally still big names. They flew over thousands of miles coming, standing on stage, and no one listened because no one could understand, and everyone was really eager to talk to each other. And it was so crazy that some people came to listen, and they were so angry that they tried to find us to complain. And to be honest, it was such a mess that Bern and I, we had to hide ourselves to get not too much in trouble because people were so angry, partially. And this was crazy. And we thought, and we did it the first time, and then we thought, okay, maybe it's a better sound system we need. So we tried it then the next time in January. So from September to January, because we said, okay, after Christmas and so on, there's a good timing, and implemented a better sound system. Turned out it wasn't the sound system, it was another horrible event. And this was then the time where we said, okay, a third time with this horror is not doable for many reasons, because maybe we got killed or maybe people don't come anymore and so on. So we said, okay, we have really to change our concept. And at the second time, the Ministry Ilse Aigner, the Economic Ministry Ilse Aigner, asked us and said, hey guys, now you're doing the second time, and I really love what you so in the big Löwenbräu-Keller, so at the big venue, how can I help to make it even bigger? And we said to her, we need an Oktoberfest tent. And she directly recognized, okay, that was a stupid question, because that's something in Munich which is not doable. So getting an Oktoberfest tent is really impossible. So you have very strong rules and so on. And yeah, and then but she said, let me think about, maybe there is any solution. And some days later, I got a call from Ilse Aigner where she called me and said, Mr. Bruckschlöegl, I have there some solution. And this is now the rest is history. Yeah, because this was the first days and how we got there. And then you're right, got the Oktoberfest tent for one day, but we said, okay, we do the following 2 days at a professional conference center at the ICM Munich, where you have really the professional setup. And the last day is then only at the Oktoberfest with the purpose of having the best networking you can have. And this is working awesome. So people really love it. They call it liquid networking. And for us, it was another thing that we said, okay, we won't grow to any level because we experienced some very, very big events where we said, okay, there you have a lot of, so for sure, you have upsides and also downsides. But for us, the downsides were bigger, where I said, okay, it's very anonymous, you don't find the right people, and so on and so on. That we said, okay, let's limit it. And we limited it at the beginning to so the first event was 3,000, the second then 5,000. 5,000 we hold on for 10 years. And only last year we decided now is the right time because we have such a great and good attendeeship to say, okay, let's increase it to 7,500. But we have done it with a lot of discussions internally and so on. So it was something which was very, very hard discussed because it's for us not like, let's do it. And we have a lot of interest on having 15 or 20,000. But for us, really the quality of people and networking is the main reason for why we are doing Bits and Pretzels.
Wow, that's really wild, right? Like, how did you start with this whole breakfast thing and then people were just coming into your event? What do you think? Okay, I assume, of course, 10 years ago, it was a very different ecosystem. We did not have that many events happening, and it seems like the area there was a gap that you kind of filled, but you still keep attracting people. You're right now increasing your attendee size to 7,500, which is still quite a lot of money. What do you think makes you different as an event?
To be honest, it changed over the years. The beginning, and for sure it's still there, it's Oktoberfest. So something that you can't copy in any other region in the world, original Oktoberfest first. Second, when you attend Bits and Pretzels, you really feel the energy of the people because you have so many founders in a room, which is crazy. So people really come to it and say, hey, after Bits and Pretzels, I would like to start my company and so on. So because you are so energized by everything. So I would say this is another thing, but this for sure you can have at other founder conferences as well. But at the beginning, we were very much focused on high level, well-known speakers like Richard Branson, Barack Obama, Jessica Alba, Michelle Obama. They all attended, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that was something where people said, hey, it's the first time now I see Barack Obama live during a Founders Festival and so on. And this really helped at the early days on getting recognition in the European founder scene. And this changed more and more that from our side that we are focusing more and more into business value. So we don't have this big names and we don't had it in the last year. Maybe we have it this year, so that's something we are for sure still trying to get big names and especially big entrepreneur names. But the main reason why attendees should come and join Bits and Pretzels is that they come and find investors, business partners, co-founders, getting their idea and so on. So that's something which is the main focus and where we every year challenge how we can improve that. And that's not the one or two things I can now mention because it isn't. It's many in everything. And the thing behind Bits and Pretzels is that my co-founder Bernd, but also our business partner Felix Haas, who joined. So we are now the three hosts and myself. We all are entrepreneurs. And that's, I would say, the difference, that it's really from founders for founders. So we know the pain and we hopefully know how to fix it. For sure, also ask our attendees. But we really know maybe more than other conference organizers what's needed and try to deliver that.
Yeah, that's wild. And how international is your audience? You started like very much in Munich area with wild numbers, When did you have this pivoting moment where we're like, oh, we're actually serving more entrepreneurs, not only from Munich area, and we attract people from Spain, from outside Europe. When did that happen, and how do you approach that? It's not that it still has this authenticity of Munich area and Bavaria, but also brings this internationalism.
Yeah, good question for sure. This was also development. The first two events were mainly focused on Munich and Bavaria. Some people from Berlin and so on joined us, but 80-90% were coming from Munich and around. It changed year by year, especially with what I said with big names and then more international press we got. But I would say the real breakthrough was last year. It was also connected to our theme. Last year we had the theme Kickstart Europe, where we said, okay, we would really like focus on the European startup scene. And we all, because of two reasons. First, we saw at this time, and we still see, that there is a very strong need doing that on uniting founders within Europe, and also having founders from outside Europe that they can learn about the European founder scene first. Second, our brand was strong enough that we can do and deliver this mission, because at the beginning, for sure, if you are a small event in Munich and you say, okay, I would like to attract people from Spain, because it's not only the ticket price at the end, right? It's also flights you have to book and pay, hotels and so on. And for founders who unfortunately don't have that much money, it is a big commitment, and we really needed a lot of time on making our brand visible and trustable, that people say from Spain, okay, I booked the ticket, I booked the flights, I booked the hotel to come and join Bits and Pretzels. And that needed years of development and brand awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very amazed how you're, especially in the early times, you managed to attract really big names, right? You mentioned from Schwarzenegger to Obama and etc. How did that happen? Did you have some kind of external funding and budget to get them, or there was some secret sauce that you grasped the conversation?
It's a good question. It's not the only thing. It was always a combination. First, it was a combination of the three of us, Felix, Bernd, and myself, because everyone has his strength, and it was really a combination of all the strengths. Just to pick one example, Richard Branson, Felix had a contact, pushed that, and over 3 months sent a video, a personal invitation video, and this happened then, with a lot of luck. Others, like Barack Obama, this was not that much luck. This was about 4 years of work. So over 4 years, we worked on getting him, or getting in contact with his agency and convincing him. And it was really like every year we created videos where we invited him personally. Every year we tried to find people who know him, and so on. And we really did so many things. Yeah, so that's something which really is a combination of the team of the three of us. Very important, because you mentioned it, we never ever got any external funding, so we funded everything by ourselves, and that's very important, because we really had to make sure that the money we are offering could be earned at the end for this name. And here it's a bit like in every industry, right? You have different prices for different people. Regarding our experience and learnings, I would say most of the people I don't see as an event organizer who has a very bootstrapped mindset. With a lot of them, I don't see a good ROI. It's only less where you have really a good price for a good name, which really sells tickets. And we have here experienced a lot of names which hasn't sold a lot of tickets, and others who have sold a lot where we haven't thought that much. But we funded everything by ourselves, and with every speaker except one, we had the ROI directly after the event.
Wow, that's super wild. And it's quite crazy to hear you saying about this bootstrapping mindset when building the events, because usually from all the experiences with different events, it's a lot of they're surviving on external funding, some partners, then those partners defines the agenda and narrative usually. And at the end of it, even you lose that authenticity and the messaging you want to align. So that's very interesting to learn for sure. And so, but that crazy thing, okay, so coming back also a bit, I have one more question regarding the events, and then I want to switch a bit to your founder story, because to my knowledge, you were still building companies, right, while you were creating this event, which is kind of wild to comprehend because the event is huge. Building company is also, it's a roller coaster, and you were doing it both. And so it seems like you're a crazy team. But before we move there, yeah, I can see from your face, just a quick wrap up about the events industry, right? So, okay, you have this unique USP. First of all, you're bootstrapped, so you kind of have a lot of ownership. You are doing that aligned with Oktoberfest, which is absolutely an incredible value prop for everyone outside, especially Germany, or someone from Germany who wants to come. It's incredible. But third thing, I'm very curious to learn about your approach about the concept and execution of the event activities. What have you noticed this year that when it comes to the event execution, is that maybe some kind of alt event formats or some kind of, I don't know, we used to have a year of super fluffy inspiration, for example, on stages, right? Which is already changing now into more practical stuff. Is there anything you have noticed that this year you had to let go from the program and to create space for something new?
Yeah. Awesome question. Because it really sounds like we spoke this before. No, because this is definitely one thing which changed, that we changed our stages regarding size and the number of stages. Because in the last year we had a lot of stages with a lot of seats, and recognized that a lot of them were empty, and not because of people were not attending and coming, because a lot of people were networking. We're standing around we have a very cool beer carousel, and they were standing around the beer carousel and were really networking, and they were so eager to meet each other instead of listening to talks. And that's something which we really recognized overall, that people, I would say before COVID, it was, so a lot of money was in the industry, and people attended more like, it's cool, and I also attending Bits and Pretzels and so on. So they came more for a lifestyle issue, I would say. So not all, so don't get me wrong, please, but it was a bit more focused on lifestyle instead of business value. Mm-hmm. And after COVID, and especially after the economic crisis, this changed a lot, because pockets are tight, and people don't have that much money. So they really have to think about 3 times, 4 times, 5 times if they attend to a conference and if they invest the money. And to be honest, I as a founder love that, because it really brings a complete different kind of people to our conference, and you really feel it. People take it so serious that they attend, and that's great. That's great for everyone. That's great for the people who are taking it serious, but it's also great for everyone else, because then you really have great conversations. You have people who are really interested in learning about your business and directly thinking about, can I also make some business with you? And if not, nice to meet you, next one, right? So, because this should be the case of a good business and startup conference, and that's something which really changed. And for that reason, as I said, we have changed the size and number of our stages and lowered it, because we said we would like to create more space and time for networking, and created here some things, yeah.
Are there any other tools you facilitate the networking and matchmaking between the stakeholders, like investors, founders? Because I like what you're saying, right? As a founder, we had this also hype, you have to be visible everywhere. But also I'm in conversation with many founders who are just the builders, and they usually avoid going to the conferences because either it's too big, or it's no value, or no proper way to meet the investors. And we have a very kind of exclusive separation between different stakeholders. How do you approach that angle? So
first, how we approach it at the event is like different things. So for example, we have our networking app, where within the networking app, you can 5 weeks before the event, so we'll launch it on Monday, you can approach people and can directly schedule meetings, and you get then automatically a table at Bits and Pretzels where you can meet and really discuss for 15 to 30 minutes. So that's something which you can do before the event. At the event, we have one thing which is extremely different to all the other events. We have 70 people, which we are calling matchmakers, so real people were there, and you have big tables and so on where you can say, hey, I'm looking for this and that and so on, and they try to match manually people. It sounds crazy, right, for a digital conference,
Yeah.
but this is one of our secret sources, that we have this human aspect and this matchmakers at our event who really make sure that people learn the right people at the conference. Regarding outside the conference, or in general regarding our brand, that's our hope, that people recognizing that and sharing this to friends and to the builders and say, hey, Bits and Pretzels is different. You have to come, because it's not the fluffy conference style. It's kind of conference where you really find other builders and where you can expand your network. That's our goal. That's our mission, and that's the thing what we have done the last 12 months a lot. So really thinking about how can we improve the networking and that the right people meet each other.
Wonderful. And role of community aspect when you see all this whole philosophy with the event, because event is just one of the annual gathering, right? In order to keep the community, you still need to, I don't know, provide some more opportunities for the locals to interact, engage, to also bring up the brand. And I saw something that you were doing, some kind of meetups, but maybe you can share your philosophy, why it's important for you, the community, and how do you work with it right now?
Yeah, so at the end, Bits and Pretzels in general is all about community. So with the community, we are Bits and Pretzels. Without, we are nothing. So that's definitely the case, and that's the reason why also in the last month, you're totally right, we thought about how can we expand it, and we have really waited long because we were not sure if people are interested on that. So we started 5 months ago some kind of a rough idea or test balloon, where we said, okay, we are doing now on a bi-monthly or quarterly basis meetups in different locations. So we start in different cities. We started in Munich, Berlin, and Hamburg with the first cities, and did the first meetup in different locations, and the feedback was crazy. So people really loved it and said, hey, it's so good that it's not only an annual event, that I can really meet the people during the year and meet more people during the year. And now we also did a little campaign on asking, okay, who else would like to be a community lead in different cities? And it's crazy what feedback we got. So we got over 40 people who said, hey, I would run for community lead in Paris, in Istanbul, in Lisbon, and so on. So it's crazy, and now we have to coordinate everything and to make a bit of a strategy when we launch what. But our goal is to have each relevant city an own community lead and regular community meetups to strengthen the community at the different cities and the founder scene in general, because our mission at Bits and Pretzels is empowering founders in Europe. And for sure we can do that with our annual event, but that's only one puzzle piece of what we have to do on striving for our mission.
I love it. I find it so important and relevant, since we so much look after Silicon Valley and American success. We kind of miss the golden spots here in Europe, what we have. And we have very different starting point, different environments, but it doesn't mean that we don't have our own success. So it's really kudos for taking this kind of approach.
Thank you.
All right. So look, we spoke a lot about the event, unexpected twist, but it's also a topic I'm so passionate about, especially nowadays, where we are juggling between the artificial intelligence, online events, and kind of everyone trying to create community. So it's very inspiring and refreshing to hear how it grew over the last decade. But what's most fascinating for me is to hear that it's coming from founders to founders in a way, right? You're coming from the pain points the founders are facing. You already had your own rides and still experiencing the rides with ups and downs. And one of the most impressive facts I learned about you before jumping on this call, that you started your entrepreneurial journey when you were still in high school, like you were, what, 14 years old? 12. Oh, sorry. 2 years. No, so the interesting factor nowadays, I think it's not that surprising. We see already a few generations of family entrepreneurs, and then the kids become even more entrepreneurial. We started getting this also American lemonade model. But when you started, it was not the case that the schools would empower and encourage entrepreneurial mindset. How did you manage to grasp that this?
Yeah, so You're definitely right. The schools were completely not focused or supporting any of these activities. Um, Different things. I really had the luck of first, my parents are entrepreneurs. That helped a lot. But to be honest, what helped me way more was the mindset of my parents. My mother has a mindset of, if you have an idea, just try it. That's I think extremely helpful. And my father has the mindset of, if you have some process, how can we improve it? And these two mindsets, I would say, is the perfect foundation for being an entrepreneur. And this was my starting point. And then I really tried a lot of things. I started my first business with eBay. So at eBay, I sold backpacks from my mother's local luggage store with success. And I really had a lot of fun on earning money and also selling stuff. And I have it until now. I really love it. I love building products. I love selling. I love earning money. And that's something which drives me until today. Yeah. And during especially my high school, I got so many roadblockers, especially from teachers. So it's extremely sad now to say this, and that I experienced that. And you're totally right, because my personal mission is now more on hopefully having here some impact on a change, because you're right, we as Europe in general has to use this big potential we have, but also in general, I think it's so important that for kids, it's not only, okay, I will be a big football player, or I will be the next, I don't know, Bon Jovi, the next big singer. I also would like to be, or the fireman or policeman. I would like to be an entrepreneur. And,
Yeah.
and to be honest, you have, especially in the US, there's some kind of idols, right? So Mark Zuckerberg and so on. But I think we also need that in Germany and in Europe. In Germany, we have now this, maybe you know, some kind of Shark Tank, Höhle der Löwen. And here we have now some idols already. But I think there have to be so many more, because it's so important, right? For kids to see, okay, that is a way I can go. And I can have great time when I build my own products, when I do something which has impact for society and so on. It's awesome. But I experienced that it's, especially my childhood was never supported. But I think that unfortunately changed not that much. In Germany, we have now one organization called Startup Teens. They also try to do it a bit on the free time of kids and during the school. But really during the school, something is missing.
Yeah, and how did you deal with the social networks, right? You had completely different interests than the rest of the schoolmates, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like you were into business, entrepreneurship, trying things. You already got that grasp and roller coaster, which is usually like 5-7 years ahead than your teammates. How were you dealing with the community aspect and belonging? Did you find somewhere where you can share those knowledge, or it switched that you were talking more with your parents? And
yeah, so at the beginning, I was extremely often in online communities. So this time this was something which was, so before social media, right? You have this social communities for then different topics and so on. I was very much of my time discussing here stuff first, and then with the age of 15, I stumbled upon the first conference event for search optimization, and but the thing was, it was during the week, and I had to go to school, and I had a very good doctor. Now I can say it after, because it's a while ago, and he said, Andy, as long as you are not at any picture, I write how he said, I write a sign off or whatsoever for your school, but never ever be on a picture. And it was so awkward, because the photographer was around the conference and was taking pictures, and every time I thought, okay, he's doing a picture of me or next to me, I was like really hiding, and he was really wondering, so why is this guy so strange, right? So hiding every time I would like to take a picture. But I had this promise, and this was the first time at the age of 15. And here, for sure, everyone who attended was 25 and older. But here I found my first community. And this was a community where I benefiting until today from so many people who recognized me because of my age. To be honest, it was extremely helpful. That was some kind of my secret sauce, that I was so young. People really saw me and said, "Hey, Andy, how old are you?" And I said, 15. And they go, crazy. And everyone, it was very cool. Everyone said directly after I said my age, "If I can anything for you, let me know." So I got so much help offered because of my age. And this was really very, very important for my career and something which was very helpful. Yeah.
That's
And I'm
so
very
cool.
thankful until today.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
I just heard that, okay, the conference you went to was related to SEO and you created a business, right? Your own it's called Ryte,
Yeah.
Ryte or Ryte? Right?
Right. It's
Right.
right.
Okay, so you created Ryte.
Like right. So correct.
Right. So, and if I'm correct, you created that because you wanted to solve your own search problem, right? Your own edge.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
would be, so what's this balance and how do you distinguish between solving your own problem and your own pain versus what the market needs? Because sometimes, like there is all those sayings,
Yeah.
don't fall with your own problem,
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
about what is needed in the market, and we tend
Yeah.
to get into our heads. How did you manage to distinguish it? Or was it just for you spotting this problem that was both problem for you
Yeah.
and the market on the right timing?
So great question, because you're totally on point that this is extremely hard if you are driven by the problem by yourself. And I think every founder should be driven by the problem experience, him or herself. But then I think with the Ryte, it was that we grew with the team members, and I was more and more not able to be in the search engine optimization business. So I was more and more growing and turning into an entrepreneur and not being the kind of mastering the topic, and that helped me regarding Ryte. Regarding Bits and Pretzels, it's this advantage, but also disadvantage that we are until now driven as founders, and we think we know what founders need. But also, and that's something funny wise we discussed yesterday, that directly after the event we have to do it again, that we call 30, 40, 50 people and really listen only what was their experience, what they need, and so on. But this is something when you really are into something which you really have to force yourself to listen to customers.
Wow,
And
that
especially regarding Bits and Pretzels, because we are here such a small organization that it's not the kind where we are only in leadership topics involved and so on. So we have the time to be involved in the topic, which is great, but it also have its risk of then doing too much what you would like to have.
Wow, that's so interesting. So you're literally after the conference still calling to participants, around 50 people, to hear how was their experience, what can be improved, what should be kept, right?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
but we're also doing it. So we not only calling people, we also do a survey for sending to all our attendees to have a very big number of feedback. But then it also, I think, makes a difference, right? To listen and to have the chance to ask what you don't have at a normal standard survey. So we every time 1 week after the event, we do this NPS score evaluation, where we then know how the overall feeling of our attendees was with this year.
That's pretty cool, qualitative and quantitative both on the same side, because sometimes I feel like survey is just so not enough. Sometimes, it's after I'm leaving the event with a high, but I'm just going to fill it so it's out of my head, or maybe because I can win a ticket. So it's not always very transparent in a way.
You're right.
Okay, that's
Here
pretty cool.
it's very important to ask the right questions, right? So open questions, and that to say, like the event, right? Because I think that's what I experienced with a lot of founders, that they are asking wrong questions or wrongly. And here AI these days is extremely helpful, right? So if you do customer surveys, ask AI how you do it right, how you ask open questions, and so on. So that's extremely helpful.
Talking about Ryte and your experience with it, did you have any co-founders? That's something.
Yes. I have co-founders with all my companies, and to be honest, I'm so thankful about every one of them. At Ryte, we were 4 founders in total, so 3 co-founders. At Bits and Pretzels Burn, but Felix joined so early, so he is also some kind of co-founder. And with Evni, it's a social media agency I have one co-founder. And yeah, and before the three real businesses, I did everything by myself with the support of my parents. And I really would recommend to everyone looking for co-founders.
How did you find your co-founders? Because it's a constant challenge, right? We had this like with the current AI tools, it's kind of getting easier to be a solo founder with
Yeah,
outsourced agents. But and finding co-founder can be so difficult. It's like
yeah,
dating and
yeah,
matchmaking.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
were you just lucky to be in the right circles and
yeah.
aligned on the problem, or some
Yeah,
other
so yeah,
strategies?
yeah. So at the end, my Ryte co-founders I found because we did before an agency together. So it was some kind of a evolving from the agency to then having our own startup. With Bits and Pretzels, as told, I met Bernd with my work at the Deutsche Bundesverband. Yeah, so I had the luck, to be honest, to find them without searching. For most of the people who say, hey, I have to find someone, but I don't know where, I really would recommend attending events, attending meetups, also looking for founders on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn regarding some topics or titles or whatever, and just approach people and say, hey, I have an idea, can we talk? And that's something which I would recommend. But it's extremely, you're right, it's extremely hard because it's a very, very important relationship you have. And when we were at the notary the first time, the notary said to us, dear gentlemen, unfortunately we were only men, we are here to having some kind of a marriage. And we were really laughing. And I'm now married, so I know how it is. And to be honest, it's the same. I would say maybe it's sometimes even crazier because you were so young and we were so driven by our own way that you have a lot of hard discussions, and you are not so open on listening and yeah, following other ways, I think sometimes. So yeah,
So what would be what are non-negotiables for you and a co-founder?
I would say values. If
Mm-hmm.
a co-founder don't share the same values, it is unnegotiable.
And you've been with your teams now and co-founders for a long time. It seems like, and it feels it's been also not always an easy, right? Knowing like building a company, building an event company is like two very high demanding directions. How did you learn how to solve conflicts within the team? Because usually what happens, right?
Hmm.
The companies, the startups fail, not because of lack of funding or bad product, because co-founders disagree. It's one
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
major failure reasons. So how
And
did you
here,
manage to go through the hard times?
yeah. So first, we managed it extremely bad because we tried to manage it by ourselves. And at Ryte, for
Oh,
example,
okay.
we had over 1.5 years of more or less daily discussions and really hard discussions where
Yes.
we were close to fighting with each other and so on. Really, really hard discussions. It was fortunate, it was 2 years after founding. So the first 2 years were good because we had a lot of success, we had revenue and so on. And then after 2 years, we had different ideas of how the company should go into the next level. And this was extremely hard. In 2.5 years, we tried to do it by ourselves, and I would never ever recommend it. I would recommend the following: look for a coach or a mentor, but I
Mm-hmm.
would more recommend a coach. I can also explain the difference. So a mentor is something which has done a path and says you, hey, gives you an advice, says do this or that. A coach is saying nothing directly. He only asks questions that you come by yourself to the solution. And so I by myself find I have the opinion that you have to have both a mentor and a coach. But for co-founders, I recommend having a coach from the first minute on and doing it from the first minute on. And I have a very good, hopefully, comparison about the dentist. But I don't know the word in English. In Germany, we have it. It's called Zahnreinigung, so dental
Check up.
checkup, exactly,
Yeah.
which in Germany do twice a year. And so that's recommended. And this is something you're doing it of not having big issues with your teeth, right? And everyone is doing it and not asking. But I think regarding relationships and co-founders, it always has to come to a situation where we have big problems. We say, now we need help. But I can really say from my experience, because I have now some relationships where we did it from the first day on, where we had never ever any issue. Everyone was fine. Everything was fine. But we did this coachings and came to the point where we recognized, oh, there you have a different idea. There you are unhappy with how I react or whatsoever. But when you have it at a very early stage, it's so easy to speak about and to change it. When you have done it for 5 years, right? And in 5 years there were a big clash and so on. And then you say, yeah, 5 years ago already I hated how you reacted and so on. And that's so bad to have this situation then, because mostly, unfortunately, then it's not fixable. Because then you have dozens of issues, and then it's mostly the thing that you say, okay, now we have so many, I have no idea where to start. Let's break up. So I can really recommend, and also for personal relationships, do coaching as soon as possible without having any issue.
Okay, that's a very wise experiential advice. Can you tell us also, Andy, how did you manage to build 2 companies in parallel?
To be honest, I can't tell you.
What did you have to sacrifice?
I would say I can't tell you, because I wouldn't say I have done it good. Because the thing is, if I reflect,
Yeah.
it was hard, and at every company they have needed me more than I could give and had the time. How I managed it, I tried to be at the company where the fire is the biggest to solve the issue. And really, for sure, at Bits and Pretzels we have a lot of stuff going on 10 weeks before the event. After the event you have then some kind of a silence before the preparation starts. With Ryte you have all year long a lot of things to do, but you have here a summer break and so on, where then the work for Bits and Pretzels increased. I try to balance it. Both companies benefited from each other that I did both, but yeah, to be real honest, I wouldn't recommend it to any founder. And on the stress level side as well not, because it was hard. I slept, you're right, not that much. I slept 4 or 5 hours in the hard times for weeks, months and years, which is not healthy. And I really recognized some stuff in this time. So yeah, it was a lot of stress, less sleep. Yeah, and I would not recommend anyone to do it because it was, yeah, not good.
What would be a different way you approach if you would go back 10 years ago when it's all started booming? Is there anything you would do different?
Yeah, it's so hard to say that, to be honest, because if I look to what I have, what I experienced and so on, I would never ever missed anything. So that's the unfortunate thing, that I could say I wouldn't. So 2 minutes ago, right, I said never ever do this, and now I say yeah, but I would do it the same way again. No. To be honest, I think I would only focus at this, because Ryte was our first company. I would focus 100% of Ryte. I would have raised earlier money. We raised it after 5 years. It was too late, because in the first 2 years we had such a great momentum. We were really like in the how you can draft it. It was perfect. It was this line of growth. It was crazy good. And in this time already we would have raised money, and should have raised money, and yeah, and then changed a lot of things. I think maybe we had hired a CEO, a professional one, not that I try to run it by myself and so on. So yeah, I think for founders it is important, if you really believe in your idea, not thinking that you are the only one who can do it. For sure, it's not that easy that others do it, because you are passionate more than others mostly and so on. But at some time it is better to have other people, to have more money and so on, could be helpful. But also that's so crazy, because because also sometimes it's not good to raise money. Sometimes it's better to bootstrap for longer and so on. So the thing is, the more experience I have, to be honest, the harder it is to give tips and advice, because the more I see different ways which are working, not working and so on, that is crazy hard on really saying doing this way and everything will go well. So it's really, it depends unfortunately, with a lot of things. And really, I can give all the listeners here the advice: having good mentors around you is great, because they see very often tipping points where you then have to change or whatsoever, which you don't see by yourself because you don't have the experience or are so much into your tunnel or whatsoever.
Do you encourage any mentorship during Bits and Pretzels conference?
A good idea. We thought about. We are not doing it yet, but we thought about. Yeah. Or afterwards that we some kind of offering that. Yeah.
Even just having, when you have a community, a platform, just a place where people who wants to find the mentor or the coach and someone who wants to give back to a community, they can just meet in the sheet instead of sorting through LinkedIn.
So at the matchmaking area, we have there something. So if you say you are looking for mentors, you can definitely say it, but we have it not real good structured and so on, and not that everyone knows, okay, here I can find a mentor, and that's something I definitely take with me.
Nice, lovely. So, okay, we're getting closer to the end. I still have one more question about from your founder story and about this ownership, full ownership, right? You were mentioning that maybe some kind of external CEO could have stepped in at some point, but my question would be, when you got acquired, right? It happened a year or 2 years ago by Semrush, right?
1 year ago.
1 year ago. How did that feel? How was the transition for you from you and co-founders having the full ownership, full voice of a direction you're heading with the company, then someone stepping in and becoming part of something bigger? Because it's something a lot about a bit of a divorce feeling, no? Letting go and realizing that you're not the main character anymore.
So no. So yeah, how it feels. So my first feeling was relieving. It was relieving because we had such a hard fight the last 2 years. Because we missed a bit the boat of the business. Did some decisions were wrong and so on. So it was like really, okay, relief now. We have now a safe harbor in a very hard time, especially in the German and European economy. So first, then, as you said, everything started with implementing the product and so on. The Semrush company started to sell our product, and then the first sales came in, and that then feels good, right? On seeing, hey, big brands are now using our product. That feels good, but it also makes you sad, because you see that in this environment that your product was able to get sold to these big brands, but you only don't have the environment, right? You don't have the contacts of these customers. You don't have the relation or whatsoever. So you don't have it, and that was the only missing piece for not doing it by your own. So you have different feelings, and I have it every day. I have minutes where I'm very lucky, where I'm proud, where I'm sad. So it's you're right. It's a bit like a divorce. The good thing is I'm still involved, and it's not someone has taken me or someone has done the decision for me. Because of divorce, right? Partner is really leaving you. So it was our decision, but nevertheless, it's strange. But in general, and I don't say it because I have to, it's really because I feel. In general, I'm happy with the decision, and I'm happy to see now how our product is coming to a next level, to a complete different level with the new infrastructure and setup of Semrush, and that's crazy and cool to see.
You know how people say, "Oh, once a founder, always a founder." You've been building and creating different companies' directions. Yes, you're still now engaged in the companies you created. Talking about a bit futuristic approach, do you think you're gonna start something new at some point in your life again?
Never say never, right? No, definitely. So but also during Ryte, I had already so many ideas and still have it. And every day I experience something where I say, hey, why is this problem happening? Why is there not a better solution? I ask myself, what's the next step? But to be honest, right now, so 1 week ago, we shared that now we had implemented our Ryte product to the Semrush Enterprise solution. So it took us only 1 year to have this product implementation, which we communicated last week and released last week. And now in the next month, I still have a lot of things to do, and I'm also really curious on doing that. But then let's see.
I'm excited to follow at some point. Okay, so we're really getting closer to the end, and I have this tradition on the podcast to leave the listeners who were here with us today with a question to ponder. Usually, these are the founders who are building something or aspiring entrepreneurs who want to take the leap and actually get out of the predefined path they were following and start something new. What would be your advice or thought to ponder? I wouldn't call it an advice for people after the episode who wants to embrace entrepreneurship.
Things where you find a lot in different calendars or whatsoever, but it is the fact. Just do it. And one important thing, because if you are doing it, you will come to phases where you think it's not doable, it's hard, it's crazy. Every founder experienced or is experiencing it weekly, maybe daily. It's normal. It's normal. Everyone has to go through these situations, and you will survive. That's a thing I can definitely say. You will survive by your own. The company, I don't know, but with your own, you will survive. And you will, at the end, you will definitely have one thing. You will have learned a lot, and that's the most important thing. And there are so many good examples. For example, PayPal. There's one co-founder who had 4 failures, and PayPal was the 5th one. And that's so important. If he had given up within the 4 times, he have not founded PayPal, have not made significant amount of money, and had not done such an impact on our society with this new era or art of payment, right? So that's something I can tell people.
That's a great way to end. Well, listening to you right now, I already got like plenty of questions to follow up, but I guess I'm going to leave it for maybe episode 2 or for next year. Where can people follow your journey?
On LinkedIn.
Okay.
On LinkedIn, they are. I'm happy if they would like to follow my profile. Unfortunately, I can't accept new connections because I have reached the 30,000 connection requests on LinkedIn. But you can follow me.
Awesome. And maybe he's going to follow you back. So, Andy, thank you so much for joining Perception Paradox podcast. Good luck with the final sprint for Bits and Pretzels. I'm pretty sure it's going to be great. I can't wait to follow the media views and experiences of the people I know who are joining you this year. And thanks again for joining, and everyone who tuned in. Have a great day wherever you are, and see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Bye-bye.